Hi, I'm Darrel Serrano.
I'm Ariana Ruiz.
I'm Renee Rocha.
And this is Imagining Latinidades.
Well, thanks so much for joining us in this special quarantine edition of Imagining Latinidades. This is Darrel, and I'm joined.
Hi, this is Ariana.
And we are doing this in a socially distant manner. I happen to have the recording equipment with me, and Ariana is joining me via Zoom from her home.
Yes, I'm zooming in from the basement.
So we've been having the same adventures as everyone else, which is to say, no adventures other than trying to stay of right mind, and remember, for me at least, remember that I love my children.
Totally. I was going to say, stay of right mind with young kids in the household, which again is part of the reason why I am currently recording in my basement. So we have to make things work, right?
Yeah. This has been wild, and we realized a week or two ago that we just kind of stopped doing the podcast because we were trying to get all the other aspects of our lives and teaching online and stuff in order, and we never really did any kind of real message to our podcast listeners and others who are following the Imagining Latinidades project. And so we figured out that we could get together remotely today and do this recording and kind of fill you all in about where we're at and what our plans are moving forward, both with this podcast and if you've been following along through the live streams or otherwise, the in-person Imagining Latinidades programming in Iowa City.
Yeah, so like everyone else, we're kind of just trying to figure things out and see what works best, both for Imagining Latinidades as well as for all of us, and trying to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in process. And so I think that was part of, the whole wait, podcast, what's going on there? So I am very thankful that we're able to get together in this way to kind of do a check-in with each other, but also with our listeners.
Yeah, we've already been chatting for 20 minutes and realized, oh wait, we actually do need to start recording this episode. So it's been really nice to see Ariana and to just get a chance to chit chat a bit, because we haven't had that chance in a while.
Yeah, it's been more than a month, I think, since we've all sat in a room together. So
yeah.
And maybe we get some sad trombone for Renee, because he's not in the Zoom meeting. Keep some things the same.
Yeah. So I think most of our listeners probably know, especially if you're subscribed to to our mailing list. But we had to cancel our March event because of coronavirus. And we also had to cancel our in-person kind of closing conference that was planned for the end of April and beginning of May. The plan that we have, I think, is a pretty good one, and hopefully will actually work. But that remains to be seen, because there's so much that's still unknown about what's going to happen with the spread and potential resurgence of this virus. But the initial plan is that we're going to be doing some recordings with the invited guests from our March event. So the theme of that one was Latina, Latino, Latinx, cultural citizenships, and popular belonging. We'll be getting together with the speakers who were supposed to be presenting at that conference to do individual podcast episodes. So we'll be doing an episode with Ed Morales, and one with Adrian Burgos, and one with Frederick Aldama, and hopefully we'll have those episodes up sometime here. My hope would be that we'll be able to do those and get those episodes up sometime mid-summer or so. Then the remainder of our programming is tentatively scheduled to take place right around the 1 year mark from when we began. So mid to late September where we'll have most of our originally planned speakers coming back to Iowa City, and we'll do some podcast programming around that as well.
Right. And so the idea is to try to maintain those conversations that we had in place with, depending on folks' schedules and seeing how what their availability looks like for that fall, to try to bring in as many of them as possible to talk about the theme, which was performing Latina, Latino, Latinx futurity. And I think that given everything that has been going on, it'll still make for a very interesting and very timely conversations around the future of Latinidades, right? Yeah. Which was really part of what's spearheaded our conversations and our interests in this particular sort of seminar series.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the podcast, between now and then, obviously, or it's obvious to me, maybe not obvious to you all listening, but we're just not gonna. We don't have the personal bandwidth to be able to do the every other week episode of the podcast right now. So our episodes will be kind of sporadic. We'll get them up. When we can, and once we finish off the closing conference in the fall, I think we'll probably go on a longer hiatus as we kind of regroup and figure out exactly what direction we want to go with this podcast. And so that will kind of conclude season 1 of the podcast at that point. And part of the need to regroup too is that I'm going to be leaving the University of Iowa, and so
sad trombone.
Yeah, I get the sad trombone. Yeah, I'm going to be starting a new position at Texas A&M University. So
congratulations! We are
you.
Very happy for you. That now we get hand claps.
Yeah, yay! Applaud. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Excited to, it's sad to be leaving friends here at the University of Iowa. Feeling odd about having to move when there's a global pandemic, but excited to be starting a new chapter down in College Station, and yeah.
And I really like that the way that you phrased it as sort of like the closing of season 1, because season 1 has been about the way in which the Imagining Latinidades sort of seminar has sort of come to be, right? So taking us from that opening conference through the closing conference that'll now be hopefully in September,
yes.
And wrapping us up very nicely in that way. And then really thinking about the future of this particular podcast series and maybe even new beginnings for it as well.
Yeah. And listeners might hear my dog whimpering in the background. I think he's giving me the kind of cue that we should wrap this up at this point.
He's reminding you that you're home, yes. That there are things to do at home.
Yes, like tend to his needs.
Right.
So all of that said, thank you for being listeners of this podcast. We really hope that you all are remaining safe and relatively healthy, and kind of making your way through this just odd moment in history.
Yeah, we're thinking of you all, and we're hoping for the best. And again, that's sort of like our outlook in really thinking about like, all right, come fall, we'll be back together in some way, shape, or form. Yes. So,
yes.
Yay.
So yeah, thanks for listening. As always, please, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast, even though the episodes will be a little more sporadic, for the next few months. But subscribe, rank us, give us a little 5-star rating, and feel free to hit us up on Twitter or via email. Our email address is podcast@imagininglatinidades.com. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
All right. Take care, y'all. Closing music. Dun, 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 dun.